he's basically like, so what this will do is this will do the boring jobs that nobody wants to do. It'll do the meaningless jobs that don't fulfill people, or like just stuff like your chores, like it'll clean your dishes or pick up your groceries.
Where do you think that leads to as society stuff though go? I've got some cultural ideas on that though.
So
because if your job has to have meaning.
So one thing he said, one thing he brought up was he said down the line, he said he said we're pretty far from this, but he said I envision a future. He's always been a universal basic income guy. He says so I envision a future where work becomes optional. You only do it because you want to, and the robots are doing all of the work to sustain our society, and then we all survive off universal basic income.
That sounds terrible to me.
Explain.
I guess I have a different view of work and a different view of. I think that humans have an innate desire to create community and to be involved with the world. I think, honestly, a lot of our problems is that not enough people are having jobs involved in their local community. Okay. I think and I'm saying like not all the problems in the world are because of this. I'm saying that when you create a vocational distance between you and your physical community, you know, because we got people who work remote, we got people who you work from home. I make an attempt to go to Starbucks every day and work there because I'm able to become friends with the workers who are at Starbucks and create a little bit of a pocket of the community there. And even my job isn't directly feeding or creating an impact in my local community. So I don't know. I've just been, and this isn't, I don't have a theory yet. I don't have any kind of thing. I've just been thinking on the importance of local community lately, because I think that part of our mental health struggles is our knowing about, like, why do I need to know about what's happening in this part of the world?
Yeah.
Like every single day.
Yeah, true.
You know,
true.
And I'm not talking about like Afghanistan. I'm talking about like, why am I burdening myself with the injustice that's happening here? And meanwhile, ignoring the injustice that's happening across the street over here. Yeah. And so I think that the more disconnected we get from our physical things, it just creates I don't think we're made for that.
Yeah.
And then what you see happening is people start to do local stuff within themselves, which is why you get a bunch of health nuts. Yeah. People who are like, oh, well, this is, you know, eventually everyone accepts the limits of their body. Because like I can't be here and also in Springfield. Yeah. Like my body is here. And I think that you start to see the little bit of that disconnect folding in on itself when people become so obsessed with body and so obsessed with I can control this health. I can do this kind of thing. It's because they're folding inward looking for a local connection.
Yeah.
This is a theory. I don't got a lot on it yet, but I don't like the idea of a society where no one is working.
Well, I think there's merit to it. But I think it actually is similar to what Elon is proposing, because he's saying he's not saying nobody works. He's saying nobody does work that they don't want to do. Yeah, so it's like nobody is flipping burgers at McDonald's. What people do is they say, "Hey, here's the thing I'm passionate about, and the thing that I actually want to build or make change in or be a part of. That's the work that you're doing."
I'm saying that I don't think humans are wired and designed that way. I think that's a very Western idea, and I think that long term that's damaging to our psyche, is what I think.
Interesting.
Have you read Garden City? You read that, right?
Yeah.
I do think that there is one that goes against all ancient wisdom.
Yeah.
But I do think that there is not just like a biblical, like this kind of thing about work or about, you know, what you're doing and what you're creating. But there's a very Western idea that if I'm not passionate about it, I just don't want to do it.
True.
And then what that creates is a lot of selfish people who are in relationships.
Yeah.
That translates to our friendships. If I'm not passionate about this friendship, I'm not going to do it anymore. And that's what I'm saying is that the whole point of community, not the whole point, but I'm saying like a big aspect of being in relationship with other people is sacrificing and making changes and giving up what you want to do for the other person.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. I don't disagree with you. I think the one thing I would say is
I think that would be that sounds like a very, you know, I think it's built on the idea that Western ideology and then Western practices and technology will usher us into a utopia. And I think that's one reason that Gen X is so burnt out. Is because they felt that in the 80s. There were all these ideas about what the future would look like. And now we're in the 2020s and that future did not pan out for them. And so what they grew up with being told the future was going to be like, that's what I think our generation is going to get stuck with is I thought it would be better and different by now because all this advance in technology.
Oh, I mean, I think that's totally fair. I think the
this became a much more serious podcast. I apologize.
The motivation has to be, what's your motivation behind your work? Do you want to be the dude on top that does something amazing, or do you want to do something that actually contributes and helps other people? Is it selfishly motivated or is it selflessly motivated? And I think you're right. I think there will be a lot of people who are like, I just want to go do something awesome and be the guy. Or be the person who did this thing.
But I'm saying, I think that even that puts a value on work as far as if you're not passionate about it, then what you're doing doesn't have meaning. And that's what I'm saying is that we've created a society where we're telling people who do work at McDonald's, who do work on frontline jobs, who do the things that rich people don't want to do. That their job doesn't have meaning. And I'm saying that instead of feeding into that and growing that ideology, I think that's a dangerous ideology. I think rather, instead of saying that your meaning and purpose, because that's what we've been selling, that's why I'm saying I don't think the society will work, is we've been selling over and over that your meaning and your purpose comes from your work.
True.
And so then what we're saying is go find something that's worth doing. Well, what's going to happen? People are going to implode with anxiety and stress, and
they're not going to figure out what they want to do,
and
they're just going to do nothing.
Imposter syndrome.
I think that's. I mean, I think there's merit.
I think if you're listening to this and you work a job that, and your whole, like when I worked at Subway, I would listen to podcasts on my way to work at Subway when I was 20 years old, and I think that there's still meaning and purpose to be found. Even in that job. And I think that if we're telling people that that's just a temporary thing until a life that's different and has more purpose and meaning, that's just never going to come. You're never going to find purpose. Anyway, I'll get passionate. I'll start preaching. I apologize. But I'm serious. We can talk about that later, but I have a lot of cultural ideas that very passionately disagree with that ideology.
That's fair.
And I say that as a person who is self-employed and it has my dream job. So I'm speaking from a different position, but I think that I'm in a mental and emotional healthy space where if I were working a different kind of job, I could still find, quality friendships, relationships, and meaning apart from that job. Anyway.
I think the reason that you're in that healthy position is because every morning you fight your robot. You fight your vacuum every morning.
Yeah. My vacuum? Not even like the robot vacuum. Just straight up my vacuum.
Your Hoover. You get your old
Hoover
one out.
I make it look at the replacement. I go, look at that robot vacuum. Look what I bought.
This is better than you in every way.
I don't even have to do it. I just touch a button and it cleans the whole apartment. What did you do? And then I just beat it up.
I don't even have to empty it.